I'm about to start carving this neck, but I hear the chorus, "Oh Trev, that heel is awfully short. Did you slip on the bandsaw?" Nope. I reckon I'll have a go at a slimline. The sides are laminated. I've fitted them into the Solera mould, but they're so narrow I've had to offset them so that enough sticks out the top for me to work on the back profile. Speaking of the back profile, it's very much compressed, so there's not going to be nearly as much curvature on the back of this guitar as on my regular models. This neck block is ridiculously short, and it's also a lot chunkier than what I've used on previous glued neck guitars because it's informed by my experiments with the bolt-on neck. So it will take a pounding when it comes time to hammering the frets over the body. Now I'm about to do something I've never done before. My first traditional tail block and tail graft.
Like a virgin, touched for the very first time.
I'm about to glue the outer layer of the back access port frame to the inside of the guitar back. As you can see, I've only done 2 of the braces that I normally do, and I'm using this radiused sanding dish as the backing mould. I've done some busy messing around putting these infills in here so that when we glue on the second layer they'll be the same width. I've got to decide the order of steps. I could glue on the back and finalise the access port then, or I could cut the hole out right away and glue on the second layer and then fit it to the back. One of the issues is that these pieces are a little bit too thick to sort of taper down with a spoke shave as I do on my regular braces. So I'm going to have to make up a few things as I go along. Trimmed these 2 pieces and thinned them down at the corners to match the tapering of the braces. The lid fits nicely against the inner surrounds, and it also fits fairly easily through the outer. So now I'm going to laminate this, hoping I've got enough pressure to get all of the joints to meet cleanly, and also press the back to conform into this spherical dish. There's no way I'm going to be able to clamp without having this in place, so I'm waxing every surface where squeeze out might get. Let's hope that's enough. It's apparent I don't have enough go bar sticks, so let's hope that the amount of contact that we do have is going to be enough. Well, it's very messy, and I'm thinking about how I might improve things next time, but I've tapered down these edges. The layers allow me to see contours that help me to do it a little bit more evenly. So now we can put in the remaining centre strips and then mark up how we will join this to the sides. I've had to chock up the sides before we glue on the back. I book matched the outer layer much thicker and indeed bigger than I needed because I didn't know how thick I was going to need it. It means that we're not going to be able to bend this to conform. So I've added an extra layer here and I'm flattening it to act as the interface between the curved piece and this flat piece. Once we laminate this, we can then carve in again the curve that we need. This piece is paper thin in the middle now. It almost but not quite fits, which is good. And it is almost but not quite flat on the outside when it conforms on the inside. Now we have enough information to thickness these strips and this showpiece accordingly. After a bit of a flurry, we've got the cover, which as you can see has a bit of a stepped profile. Fitting in to the hole, there's a bit of a rock that I'm having trouble getting rid of, but I think once we sort of screw it down it'll conform a bit better. What I need now to do is to kind of extend the curve of the back into this block of wood, and I'm going to be using my 3.2 metre radiusing bit to do that. I did a very rough bit of material removal on the band sander. I got me some holes. And they line up. The join lines aren't as perfect as I would have liked, but I think once we got a little bit of shellac around the outside of the cover piece, it's going to be a lot better. Likewise, the levelling is also not perfect. It's pretty good around here, but we're a little shallow here, so rather than take off all of this wood, I think I'll just put in a bit of a shim. We're never going to be at the stage where you can run your hand over it and not feel the join, so I'll definitely be using the heirloom fit trick of putting very, very tiny roundovers around the join lines. But all in all, for a first try, I think it's pretty good. And there's a view from the inside. I had to do that step early because we've got to raise the guitar up in the Solera mould so that we can glue on the soundboard. And it wouldn't fit otherwise because it's too shallow. Box got a lid, the lid got a hole. The tap tone is pretty high, not deep at all, but that's only to be expected because the depth is so shallow and the back is so unyielding, completely non-resonant. This is the dry tape up of the bindings on the cutaway side of the back. Because the curvature is so much more shallow and gradual, problems of bindings tilting is way less. There's still a little bit of room for improvement, but it's looking pretty good. If you've not seen this before, I use a minimal bead of tight bond in the channel to control the amount of CA glue that seeps into the wood and between the layers. A problem has arisen. Tightening the neck tensioning bolt through this hole using this is impossible. If I make another one, I will move this hole a little bit tailward, but in the meantime I made myself this. Consider yourself fortunate that the welding step was done off camera, but it means I'm able to very conveniently tighten the neck tensioning bolt through this hole. And now that I come to think about it, it may also be convenient on my deeper guitars where the access port is in the tail. Excuse the untidiness, but I've just had the most difficult time clamping the fingerboard to the neck and body. You would think that with the access being underneath and closer, it would be easier than when it is coming in from the tail, but in fact it's not. If I do this again, maybe I'll try and take that into consideration and build a few jigs or calls or something better than this one in advance. I've just glued on the bridge, and with the access port in the back like that, it makes it much easier to get at my bridge clamping call, which is lucky because my previous method used these clamps through the tail port and we haven't got one. This is the first time I've used a screw to install a strap lock button. Normally with the access port doors I just use a bolt, but the tail block means that's not really suitable in this case. And there we are. The slimline design lends itself for practice and stage work, i.e. amplification. It's not going to perform brilliantly as a regular acoustic, so I'm putting in a pickup, and having the back access port means we can get at the back of the bridge really easily. On the other hand, positioning it for gluing is uncharted waters. So I've made myself this positioning guide and melted a little bit of wax onto the underside of it to protect it from super glue. After I've taken away the clamping spot, this is what it looks like. Now we just need to see whether we can disengage it without super glue causing problems. Ah, came off easily. So how does it perform acoustically? I built this guitar a couple of years ago using celery top pine, the same timber, for the soundboard. Now the strings are a bit old, but it should give us an idea. Now the slimline. As expected, there's not very much bass response. The cavity is a bit smaller and the soundboard is a bit thicker. That's going to mean it resists feedback more than other guitars, and it's going to be most suitable for band use, particularly stage, because it'll tolerate the high sound levels and it's going to stay out of the way of your bass player. So let's have a listen to the pickups. I'm using my Zoom AC2 pedal, and I've set the source guitar to 000. It doesn't match this, but it kind of matches this. I recently uploaded a song that I'd recorded on this guitar using the pickups, and it was so convenient in the studio here to just record away using my monitors and not even bothering with headphones. I plan to make another video quite soon where I play around with the Zoom AC2, having a listen to all of the EQ curves associated with the source guitar setting. Check that out when it comes. Cheers!